I'm Heather, and this is a reading vlog about trying to pick DNFs back up. If you are familiar with my channel, which you probably are, I DNF all the time for any reason that I feel like, to be perfectly honest with you. I DNF on the first page. I DNF at 90%. Anywhere in between, for any reason, I DNF. My reading is for fun. I'm not required to finish a book. So most of my DNFs, I never look back at, right? They're not for me, that's totally fine, moving right along. But there are some that I feel like are because of the timing that I'm trying to read them, either because I'm in a slump or my reading mood or whatever, right? So these are ones that right now I feel like I could pick up. These are the ones that I have to choose from. I have a spinner wheel, which I'm going to spin to decide which ones I get first or next or whatever. And that's how I'm going to choose which ones I read, okay? So the first one that is an option is Sweethand by N.G. Peltier. This was a recommendation. I've seen it around, but the one who has convinced me to try and pick it up is Jess from Jess Owens. She loves this book. It's Black Love, she's the maid of honor, he's the best man. Their childhood nemesis. She's a baker. Now, I am not into wedding setups or bakery setups or any of the things. I started this, I read the first 3 chapters in a vlog on my anniversary actually. It's fine, but I feel like she hates him for no reason. And then I was in a reading slump for like a week after that. I didn't read anything. So that's why that one got DNF'd, because I was in the middle of a slump. It had been days since I read, so I just DNF'd all the things that I had currently reading because I wasn't reading them. Then I have Sticks by Layla Frost. I want to say I made it maybe like 20%. This one is a fantasy romance, but it's more like paranormal, I think. And he's been imprisoned for like hundreds of years and hears her or is drawn to where she is for some reason, and basically he's manifesting and he's like doing things around the house and she like hears his voice, but she thinks she's going crazy. But I quit before we actually met him, so that's all I know. Then I have Drag Me Up by RM Virtues. This is a Black love and queer Hades and Persephone retelling. I started this in the vlog also. I've heard wonderful things about this. So many people have rated it 5 stars, but it is written in third person, and that is just not my favorite. And that's the main reason why I DNF'd it. I DNF'd it before we even met Persephone. But then like I watched their live show for Sweethand with RM Virtues, and I was just like, I'm gonna buy it and try again because I want to. So there's that. I DNF'd that like 3% in, 7% in, something like that. Then I have Rain by Siobhan Davis. I know that's not how you say her name. Nicole from Who Picked This Book told me how to say her first name. It's nothing like what it looks like, but I don't remember what it was. So this is the 3rd and final book in a reverse harem bully new adult very dark romance. So there is a lot going on there. She was kidnapped as a child and there's domestic abuse happening with her mother, and there's a lot of content warnings for this series. But in the 3rd book, her mother specifically is kind of pretty brutally raped by the villain and his compatriots, and it was just a lot, and the aftercare was a lot. They described kind of the damage done. It was just like I felt sick. I was just overwhelmed by it. But that was last July, and I have not stopped thinking about maybe finishing this series. I really enjoyed the first 2 books, even though they were so over the top and very dark. But that scene specifically just really was too much. I needed a break, and I have not picked it back up yet. Partly, I think, because I'm not sure if that's the worst thing that will happen or if it will go farther than that. And if it's the worst thing that happens, well, I'm already past it. But if it's not, I don't know if I can do it. So there's that one. Then another reverse harem is A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor by Kathryn Moon. This is a monster reverse harem in a Victorian type setting where she is a maid and is just horny all the time. It's something. One of the monsters discovers her and is like, hey, I have a place that might be good for you. It's a manor where they take their clients and all the clients are not human. And she's just like, this is amazing. But I don't know if I was just bored or if it just wasn't the time to just read monster smut for me. It was back in March when I was DNFing like 20 books that month. So, and I love Kathryn Moon. I really enjoy her as an author, so we're gonna try that again. Then I also have 3 Wishes by Kristen Ashley, which is another book that I DNF'd in March. This is a family has a genie, and so you start out like reading about her grandparents and then her parents, and then her parents can't have kids, so they wish for her, and then the genie makes her perfect, but he, you know, she's going to have everything, but he wants her to not get it so easily. So as a teenager, she is overweight and struggles with self-esteem and friends and all of the things. The genie finds her after her heart is broken by a boy that she really liked, and he, you know, just brushes her off like, how could I ever like you? And she makes a wish for her dream man, and she reads a lot of romance novels, so she's very specific. And one of the things that she wishes for is for them to have to go through things to prove their love. And then we see her parents' death. She had to leave without being able to get in touch with her boyfriend, who she knows is the answer to her wish. He's perfect in every way. So her parents die, she can't get hold of her boyfriend, she finds out that she's pregnant, and that's where I ended it. So it's like a second chance romance. They're gonna go through it, or they have gone through it. So I don't even know why they're apart or what happened to the boyfriend, but he disappeared. So it's just her and the genie now, and baby on the way. Also, I had The Player by Kresley Cole. So I loved the first 2 books of this, but this one wasn't at my library. It's mafia, over the top, BDSM, alpha, all the things. But this one is the brother, and he's not really in the mafia, but he's like a billionaire businessman, and he falls pretty hard for this girl at the party, but she is a con artist. And the beginning was very odd. It was like every other sentence was explaining something about cons and how they did them as a family and like their method and their whole system. And I was just like, I don't care what every single con is called. And also, like, I've heard of con artists before. Like, I don't need all of this explained to me. And it was irritating me. And then he like doesn't answer her call the next day, and her family is just like, you're a failure. And I'm like, what? Excuse you. And that is where I stopped. Not very far into it, but yeah, her family's just like, you're not good at this. She's like, I am good at this. And they're like, no, you're not. And she's like, yes, I am. And he's not answering her. And he'd be like their biggest prize ever. So that's where I'm at. So I spun the wheel, and the first one I got was Drag Me Up by Harem Virtues, the Black Love, Hades and Persephone retelling. And Persephone is trans, and Hades is cleaning up his family's messes. And that's another reason why I DNF'd, because he has like a toxic relationship with Zeus, where Zeus gets away with everything and Hades cleans it up. But I am excited to read it, and I will let you know how that goes. So my skin is just being disrespectful, and it's like, why should we not just break out for the fun of it? Doesn't matter. We're gonna do this update anyway. So I have technically been reading for this vlog for the last couple days and haven't updated because my power has been out, but it is back. Praise Jesus, hallelujah. And so I'm going to update you on the first 2 books that I've read, and then the one that I picked next, okay? So the first book that I read was Drag Me Up by Harem Virtues. This is the Black Love, Queer, Hades and Persephone modern day retelling. I gave it 3 stars. There were some lines that I absolutely loved. I thought that the representation obviously was the main reason why I wanted to read this book, I feel like, besides actually seeing the author in a live show. But I skipped a lot of the descriptive passages and pages, and it felt like I was skipping whole pages and it like doesn't even matter. I liked the relationship. It was very insta-love. There were some parts that I just felt didn't make a ton of sense without having a conversation first, but nonetheless, I did really like their relationship. I'm glad I read it, but maybe the writing just isn't my favorite, which I don't blame the author for. You know, it's their first book, all the things, but I didn't love it. I just liked it, like just some of it. Then I read Three Wishes by Kristen Ashley. This is the, again, modern day, but her family has a genie and he's given their family wishes, and she is the result of one wish because her parents weren't able to have children. And then she, as a teenager with really bad self-esteem and a heartbreak from a mean boy, wishes for this perfect guy, but she also wishes that they would have troubles and tribulations to test their love and all the things. So they meet, they have a well-run romance. They break up through a series of events that just seems very unlikely. Like all these had to work perfectly for them to be apart, and it didn't make a ton of sense. She has her baby by herself. They're apart for 8 years, and then he kind of crushes her heart again when they see each other again. She thinks he's dead. She's a single mom. He thinks that she left him and doesn't know about the baby, and it's just a lot of stuff I did not love. There were parts that I loved. The one altercation had my heart beating out my chest, so like I was really affected by it. But ultimately, the biggest obstacle in their relationship was the emotional connection, and obviously that's like my favorite part of a fictional couple, so that was also rated 3 stars. So far, both books that I've rated 3 stars, which a 3-star for me is like, it's okay that I read it, but I also wouldn't have been devastated if I DNF'd it. So far, like, it would have been fine to leave them on the DNF pile or pick them up. It was whatever. Okay, so I spun for Drag Me Up, and then my power was out, and I already had Three Wishes downloaded on Kindle, so I just read it. And then I spun again, and I got Lady of Rooksgrave Manor, which is the monster reverse harem in Victorian England. And I think I made it farther in this one than I did in either of the others. I think in Drag Me Up, I'd made it like 7%, and Three Wishes maybe 3%, so they were early DNFs. They were, I'm not in the mood for this, I don't really care DNFs. In fact, both of them, I hadn't actually met the love interest by the time I DNF'd. So early DNFs. But this one I did make it farther into. She's met at least a couple of the love interests. And yeah, I'm gonna read it. Okay, my hair is wet, so such is life. It is the next day, and I lowered my rating of Three Wishes down to 2 stars. Upon reflection, I also lowered another book this month down, which I have not really done in the past, but I've just noticed some books where I'm like, I feel like that's really 1 star lower than where I put it. So I lowered it to 2 stars because the final conflict, especially with what the hero was doing, so he had an abusive childhood, right? His mom was a drug addict and didn't take care of him, and because of that he stole food and other necessities and was just the only person taking care of himself up until he was adopted by the family in the book. So because of that, which is tragic and terrible, and I understand psychology and the way that things can mess you up even when it's not your fault, but like none of that is a character flaw or like a, you know, that was the fault of your parents. That wasn't anything to be held against you. And because of that, he's convinced when she finds out about it, she's going to leave him. And so like the whole week before their wedding, he is trying to make her fall out of love with him so that when she leaves him, it won't hurt so bad, because he doesn't feel like he can marry her without telling her. So he just, it's the worst. He like doesn't answer her calls. He gets mad at her. He has a really aggressive sexual encounter with her where he makes her beg and is just mean the whole time. And even though he gets her off, it's clear that he's not doing it with love, and he it's just a whole bunch of different things that he does in this week, including not talking to her and acting like she's an annoyance and all the things. And then once he tells her his sad story, which is just not a reason to do any of those things, she's like, oh, I'm completely over all the things that you did, which, like, don't hold his past against him. Like, it doesn't make any sense that he would even think that you would hold his past against him. But you don't really have enough of a track record to just assume that he's never going to do these awful things again, because their timeline is actually pretty short, like just a couple months. And it didn't make any sense for him to do it in the first place, but also didn't make any sense for her to just completely forgive him for it and not care, because it's not like you have a long enough period of time of, okay, this is literally the only reason why he would act like this. I felt like he messed up too much. And the stuff that he was doing, especially just like not talking to her and treating her like an annoyance and all these things to try and get her to fall out of love with him, like, I would not be okay with that. Those things would really bother me, and I would have a hard time forgiving you for them. And I wouldn't just be like, oh, it literally doesn't matter. Like, I would need to talk it out. And it just bugged me, and I woke up last night thinking about it and being annoyed by it, so I was like, let me lower my rating. Okay, so I'm like 34% into Lady of Rooksgrave Manor, and I just don't care about the main character at all, or really any of her guys, and I'm really annoyed about this one guy. When he got there, they just like burst into her room, and she just had sex with somebody that she wasn't really supposed to have sex with because he wasn't a paying member, and he was like so mad, but he's like never met her before. And like, she's a sex worker. He's paying membership fees to be able to sleep with her. So, like, you've never met her before. How you don't get to just barge into her room and be mad at what you find? It just annoyed me a lot. And again, I would be angry and mad. And she's just like apologizing to him. I'm like, no, no, I'm not sorry. You're sorry. So again, it's like a personal issue. I honestly don't know if I'm going to finish this book. So, you know, I really had the goal to do 50% of all the books that I picked up for the vlog. I don't know if I'm going to do it. I do not care about this book right now, which is so weird to me because I love a bunch of Kathryn Moon's books. Baby and the Late Night Howlers, The Queen's Line, Ridden, all ones that are, you know, 5-star reads for me that I really, really enjoy. And then there are other ones that I've given 4 stars, but I just don't care. I don't care at all. And I don't understand why, really. Don't really understand why, but I just don't care. So I think I'm going to stick with my goal of hitting 50%, but I don't know if I'm going to finish this one. I really don't. So there you go. There's an update. Okay, so it's bedtime. I made it through 50% and I think I'm done. She doesn't feel like a fully fleshed out character to me. It feels like kind of monster erotica, and it's way too long for that. There's 5 guys and she just went to a theater where monsters can do erotic scenes, and there's a bad guy. I don't care about the characters enough. It's not fleshed out enough, and I think a lot of that has to do with her just not feeling like a whole person. I don't know exactly what the issue is, but I think I'm gonna leave this as a DNF. Okay, I'm here to close out the vlog. So I read Drag Me Up by Ryan Virtues. I gave this 3 stars. It's Black Love, Hades and Persephone, queer retelling, and it is written in 3rd person. It was the biggest success of the vlog because I gave it 3 stars. Then I read 3 Wishes by Kristen Ashley. I give this 2 stars. It is the Genie with the family, and they just didn't need to go through all that. There was no reason, and you know, after all those years of her being a single mom, for him just to treat her like that and then be like, just kidding. It just made me mad. It just made me really mad, and I would have liked for them to have a more solid relationship because I didn't feel like they had it. Then lastly, I read A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor by Kathryn Moon, and I DNF'd this again at 50%. It's just too long for what it is. If you're gonna have monster smut where you do not care about the characters, and maybe that's just me, it needs to be shorter. And it's not. So we're done with that. So I would say that this was a failure, and that I do in fact know my reading tastes. And if I think I should DNF a book, then I probably should. Does that mean that I'm not willing to give this another shot? No, it's not, because those other books I do still kind of want to try and pick back up. So we'll see. Maybe I will do this again for a vlog. Let me know if you'd like to watch that. And I appreciate you watching me decide that I'm right about everything. So thanks. Bye.